Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are really glad you're here because today we are tackling something that, well, I think is going to resonate with pretty much everyone who has ever tried to learn a second language.
Oh, totally. It's a universal experience.
Right. So you know that specific nightmare scenario. You've been studying for months. You've got your flashcards. You've memorized the conjugation tables. You can read a textbook page and understand every single word. You feel confident. You feel ready to take on the world.
And then you step out into the real world.
Exactly. You step out, someone opens their mouth to ask you a simple question, and nothing. It is just a wall of noise. It's a total blur. You panic, you freeze, and you're standing there thinking, I thought I knew English, but clearly I know absolutely nothing. It is arguably the most frustrating feeling in the entire learning process.
It is incredibly frustrating. And, I really want to start by validating that. If you are listening to this right now and nodding your head, you are not broken. Your brain isn't failing. That experience is completely normal, and honestly, it's expected.
Because it just feels like you've wasted all your time, right?
Yeah, but the reason is something we often overlook. Listening is a completely distinct biological skill from reading. They aren't the same thing at all.
But that feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, language is language. If I know the word table on paper, why shouldn't I know it when I hear it spoken out loud?
Because the mechanism your brain uses to process them is totally different. Think about it. When you read, you are in control of time. You can pause, you can reread a sentence, you can sit there and analyze the grammar structure. It's a very analytical process. But listening is temporal.
It just happens and then it's gone.
Right. It happens in real time, it disappears the very second it's spoken, and you have zero control over the speed. So our mission for this deep dive is to really bridge that gap. We've combed through some fascinating material on auditory processing and language acquisition to figure out how to take you from a textbook reader to a confident listener.
And we are not just talking about the standard listen more advice, because everyone gives that advice. And frankly, it is not helpful. We have a guide today that we're pulling from, and it breaks this down into actual tangible mechanics, especially for those of you who are absolute beginners. Maybe you just know basic grammar, and that's it.
Yeah, we are going to look at the actual physics of sound, why spoken English literally does not match the written words. We're going to talk about a specific daily routine that fits into a quick coffee break, and we are going to settle the great debate on subtitles once and for all.
Okay, let's just jump right in. I want to start with the habit itself. If you look at the research, what is the single biggest mistake beginners make? Is it that they aren't logging enough hours of listening content?
Actually, it's usually the exact opposite. It's the binge and starve cycle.
Oh, the binge and starve cycle.
Yeah, you see this all the time. Someone decides, okay, this is the month I finally master English. So they schedule a massive 2-hour study session on a Sunday. They put on a movie in English. They sit there for 2 hours straining to hear. They get totally exhausted. They feel defeated. And then they don't listen to a single word of English for the next 6 days.
I feel personally attacked right now. I've definitely done exactly that. But it feels like real work, right? You put in the 2 hours of suffering. That has to count for something.
It counts for burnout, mostly.
Yeah.
The source material is very clear on this. Regularity beats duration. Every single time. The golden rule here is to listen a little every day. And when I say a little, I mean 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. 10 minutes. Really? Because that sounds like a late night marketing gimmick. Get abs in 5 minutes. Can you actually learn anything meaningful in just 10 or 15 minutes?
You absolutely can. And here's the science behind why. Listening is a physical act. Your brain has to map sound waves to meaning in milliseconds. This takes a massive amount of cognitive energy, especially for a beginner. If you try to do that for 2 hours, you hit what's called cognitive overload.
Your brain just shuts down.
Literally.
Yeah.
Your brain stops processing the input. You zone out. You stop actually learning, and you just start enduring the noise.
So the first 15 minutes are high-quality learning, and the next hour and 45 minutes are just, what, a waste of time?
Essentially, yes. But if you do 15 minutes every single day, you are keeping that neural pathway active. You're constantly telling your brain, hey, this is important, pay attention, but without frying your circuits.
Okay, I'm sold on the short and sweet idea. But let's get really specific here. I'm imagining a listener who is a true absolute beginner. Maybe they know subject, verb, object, they know some basic vocabulary, but they really struggle to catch words in the air. If I tell them to go listen for 15 minutes, they might panic. What exactly should they be putting in their ears?
This is a crucial point. Do not turn on a fast-paced news broadcast and do not put on a rap song. You need materials that are designed to be cracked. The source points us toward two very specific, simple types of content for that daily 10-minute slot.
All right, break it down for us. What is number one?
Number one is simple dialogues. Think about conversations that mirror daily life. Ordering a coffee, checking into a hotel, buying a train ticket.
That sounds, I don't know, a little boring, doesn't it? Why start there?
It might sound boring, but from a neurological perspective, it is a total goldmine. The reason these are so powerful is that they are predictable. This allows your brain to use something called top-down processing.
Top-down processing. Unpack that for me.
It basically means using context to predict what comes next. If you are listening to a dialogue about checking into a hotel, your brain already knows the script. It expects words like reservation, room key, breakfast, credit card.
Ah, I see. So you aren't fighting a war on two fronts. You don't have to figure out the context and the words at the same time. You already know the context. So you can focus 100% of your energy on just decoding the sounds.
Exactly. It completely lowers the barrier to entry. You aren't guessing the topic, you're just verifying the words.
Okay, so simple dialogues are the safe zone. What is the second suggestion?
Emphasis here is on short and visual.
Wait, why does the visual part matter so much? We're talking about listening skills, right? Shouldn't we just close our eyes and focus on the audio?
For an advanced learner,
Yeah.
maybe. But for a beginner, visual context is a massive cognitive crutch. And I mean that in the best possible way. If a character says, "Look at that huge dog," and points to a Great Dane on the screen, your brain instantly connects the sound huge with the visual of the big dog. You get immediate real-time confirmation that you understood correctly.
That makes total sense. It anchors the abstract sound to reality.
Plus, short videos like cooking demos or travel vlogs, they usually fit perfectly into that 10 to 15-minute rule. You watch one video, you're done. You get a real sense of completion rather than stopping a long movie right in the middle.
That actually brings us nicely to the topic of frustration management, because I think this is where most people quit. They turn on a podcast, they understand maybe 5% of it, they feel stupid, and they just never come back.
That is the danger zone. And this leads to our next major strategy, which is choosing the right level. The source calls it finding the sweet spot.
But how do you actually find that balance? Because if it's too easy, like if I listen to The Cat Sat on the Mat, I'm bored out of my mind. But if it's too hard, I'm completely crushed.
You're looking for materials where you understand some parts but not everything. Linguists often refer to this as comprehensible input. Ideally, you want to understand maybe 60 to 70% of what is happening.
Wait, so getting a little lost is actually part of the plan. We shouldn't be aiming for 100% comprehension.
Definitely not. If you understand 100%, you are just reviewing what you already know. You aren't learning anything new at all. Now, if you understand 0%, it's just noise. Your brain can't grab onto anything. But if you understand the gist, like you know who is talking to whom, you know they are angry about a lost ticket, then your brain has enough solid ground to start guessing the meaning of the new words.
It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle. If you have the corners and the edges already filled in, you can start figuring out where the middle pieces go. But if you have no pieces connected, you're just staring at a messy table.
That is the perfect analogy. The goal isn't immediate perfection. It's giving your brain enough familiar ground to recognize new patterns naturally. You need enough context to make educated guesses.
Okay, speaking of patterns, let's talk about the thing that drives everyone crazy, the sound itself. This is where I really want to go deep. Why is it that I can read a sentence like, "What are you doing?" perfectly, but when I hear a native speaker, it sounds like "what you doing"? It feels like a total betrayal.
It does feel like a betrayal. But this is where we have to talk about the mechanics of sound, or basically why spoken English is a completely different beast than written English.
Lay it on us. Why doesn't the sound match the page?
Okay, think of written English as a brick wall. Each brick is a word. They're distinct, separate, solid. What are you doing? There's clear white space between every single one of them.
Right. Nice and tidy, very orderly.
But spoken English is a river. It flows continuously. The water doesn't stop between the drops. The source explains that in spoken English, words connect, sounds change, and most importantly, English is a stress-timed language.
Stress-timed. Unpack that for us. What does that actually mean for the listener?
It means that in English, we don't give every syllable equal time. In some languages, like Spanish or Japanese, the rhythm is fairly steady, da-da-da-da. But in English, it's da-da-da-da. We emphasize the important words, the nouns, the verbs, and we absolutely crush the little grammar words.
So in our example, what and doing are the big important bricks.
Exactly. And are and you. They get crushed. They get eaten by the bigger words. They become just a tiny sound, bridging the gap. So what are you doing becomes what you doing.
And this is exactly why absolute beginners get so confused. We are trained in a classroom to listen for the individual bricks. We are waiting for a clear pause between are and you, but the speaker never actually takes a breath.
Precisely. If you are listening for clear separation between words, you are going to drown in the river. You'll be waiting for a silence that literally never comes. The brain is looking for boundaries that just don't exist in spoken sound.
So how do we fix this? If my brain is hardwired from reading to look for bricks, how do I teach it to hear the river?
The source is very clear on this. You have to stop trying to separate the words and start listening to the melody of the phrase. You need to listen to native speakers not to learn new vocabulary, but to simply get used to this natural rhythm.
It's almost like learning a song. You don't learn the individual notes in isolation, you learn the whole tune.
Yes. And you have to accept that sounds will blend. A word ending in a consonant will automatically link to a word starting with a vowel. Turn off becomes turn off. Once you stop fighting that reality and just expect it to happen, it becomes much less scary.
That is a huge shift in mindset. But simply listening to the rhythm isn't enough to learn the specific details, right? We need an actual strategy to catch the information.
Correct. Just letting the river wash over you is great for getting comfortable, but for real learning, we need to be active. And this brings us to the next step, the art of repetition.
Now, I know what people are thinking right now, repetition, boring. But the source is pretty strict on this. Listening to something just once is not studying.
It's really not. Listening once is just entertainment. If you listen once and miss 30%, well, that 30% is gone forever. If you want to train your ear, you need to use the 3-pass technique.
I love a good tactical framework. Walk us through this. How does the 3-pass technique actually work?
Okay, so take that short 2-minute visual video we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Pass 1 is strictly for the general idea. You hit play, you listen, and here's the absolute rule. Do not stop, do not pause, do not panic if you miss a word. Just let it play and ask yourself, what is this generally about?
Okay, super low pressure. Just getting the vibe, like 2 people are arguing about pizza, done.
Correct. Then you move to pass 2. This is where the actual work happens. Now you try to catch the details. You're listening for specific information. What kind of pizza did they want? Why is the shop closed? You are digging a little deeper into the audio.
So you've already got the broad map from pass 1, and now you're looking closely at the street signs.
Exactly. And then finally, pass 3. This is for verification. You listen again, specifically to check new words or phrases you noticed in pass 2. Maybe you heard a sound like pepperoni and thought, wait, is that pepperoni? In pass 3, you confirm it.
I can really see why this works. It takes all the anxiety out of that first listen. You don't have to catch everything immediately because you know you're going back in.
It creates a safety net. And neurologically speaking, repetition is what helps your brain accept those weird connected sounds we talked about. The first time you hear turn off, it's just noise. The third time, your brain says, oh, I recognize that pattern. That matches the words turn off. It moves from confusion to actual recognition.
So we're actively mining the audio, not just passively consuming.
Exactly. Active engagement is key.
Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the controversial topic that divides language learners everywhere. Subtitles.
Ah, yes. The great debate.
Are they a friend or an enemy? Because I know some purists who scream, never use subtitles, it completely ruins your ears. But then others say, look, if I don't use them, I don't understand anything at all. What does our source say about this?
The source takes a very balanced approach. It advises us to use subtitles wisely. The real danger with subtitles is that our human brains are inherently lazy. If you give the brain text and sound at the exact same time, the brain will choose the text every single time.
Because reading is just so much easier for us. We've spent years in school training to be readers.
Right. So if you just watch Netflix with the subtitles on, you aren't actually practicing your listening skills. You're just practicing your reading speed while some background noise plays.
Ouch. That hits a little close to home. So what is the actual strategy here? How do we use them without turning them into a crutch?
The source suggests using a sandwich method, essentially. First, you absolutely must listen without subtitles. This connects right back to our pass 1.
That's the scary part, right? That's facing the wall of noise.
It is, but it forces your ears to wake up. You have to test your hearing. You see what you can catch on your own. Then you watch it again with the subtitles turned on.
Okay, so this is the filling of the sandwich.
Yes. This connects the raw sound you heard to the written word you already know. This is that aha moment where you realize, oh, that blur of sound was actually the word thought. You are actively verifying your guesses.
And then, the top slice of bread.
Then ideally, you listen a third time without them. Now that you know the answers, can you actually hear them in the flow of speech? The key takeaway here is that subtitles are for verification, not for the first attempt. They are the answer key. You don't look at the answer key before you even try to solve the math problem.
That makes total sense. Treat them like the answers at the back of the textbook. Only peek after you've given it a real try.
Exactly.
So let's recap the strategy here for our listeners. We are listening every single day, but only for 10-15 minutes to avoid burning out. We're choosing simple dialogues or visual videos to get that top-down context. We're listening for the river, the continuous flow, not just the isolated bricks. We're using the 3-pass technique to dig for details, and we are sandwiching our subtitles.
That is a very solid, comprehensive strategy.
But I want to close on the mental aspect of this. Because we can sit here and talk about techniques all day, but learning a language is highly emotional. It's a long journey. It's messy. You have good days where you feel like a genius and bad days where you feel like a toddler. What is the final word of advice for that absolute beginner who just feels slow, who feels like they just aren't getting it fast enough?
Source ends with a really beautiful sentiment. It simply says, be patient. But more specifically, it highlights 2 essential qualities you need: consistency and curiosity.
I really like that pairing. Consistency makes total sense. That's the daily 10-minute habit. But why curiosity?
Curiosity is the fuel that keeps you going when you inevitably fail. Instead of getting angry or frustrated when you don't understand a word, try to get curious. Say to yourself, that was a weird sound. I wonder what that was. Why did they say it that way? It changes the whole dynamic from a feeling of failure to a feeling of discovery.
It takes the ego out of it entirely. It's not, I am bad at this. It's just, wow, this is an interesting puzzle to solve.
Precisely. And we have to redefine what success actually looks like. The source explicitly reminds us that learning to listen is not about catching every single word.
Say that again for the people in the back.
It is not about catching every word. It is about understanding the core message and feeling comfortable. If you understand the punchline of the joke, if you know what the person is asking for at the coffee shop, you have succeeded, even if you completely miss 3 adjectives and a preposition along the way.
That is so liberating. I feel like we are so obsessed with 100% accuracy because of school tests and grades, but out in the real world, comfortable is the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. And this actually brings me to a final provocative thought I'd love our listeners to mull over. It really connects everything we've discussed today: the rhythm, the river, the comfort level.
Let's hear it.
We often think that to understand better, we need to try harder. We need to concentrate more, frown more, strain our ears more. We tense up physically. But if the actual goal is feeling comfortable and catching that natural rhythm, could it be that relaxing is actually more effective than straining?
Relaxing? I don't know. That sounds a little risky.
Think about it. When you tense up, you panic. You start frantically looking for those individual bricks. You completely stop hearing the flow of the river. Maybe the secret isn't gripping the language tighter, but actually loosening your grip. If you relax, you allow your brain's natural pattern recognition software to just take over. You let the river wash over you until the patterns emerge on their own.
That is, wow, that's super counterintuitive, but it makes so much sense when you put it like that. Stop fighting the current. Just let it flow.
Exactly. Just listen.
I love that. So here is your challenge for today, listener. Not tomorrow, today. Find 10 minutes. Find a simple dialogue or a short video, maybe something with a dog in it. Turn off the subtitles for that first pass, and just let the river flow.
Consistency and curiosity. You've got this.
Thanks for diving in with us. We will see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you next time.